Let's visit Northlink College, one of the best TVET colleges in South Africa. The campuses track the northward expansion of Cape Town from the harbour through the rail and road networks. You can see the Cape Town breakwater on your left, and we're going to kind of use a ship's view to travel through it. The reason why it's there is you've got violent winter storms in the Cape, and the winds actually blow the ships onto the shore. And that meant that for a long time, Cape Town harbour had to be closed in winter months, and the ships would use Simonstown. In actual fact, in 1858, there was a huge storm which wrecked 30 ships, and that forced the building of the breakwater, which we can see there, starting in around about 1860 and then continuously expanding outwards to where it is now. The old historical harbours to your left, where the Victoria waterfront is now located. But due to Cape Town basically being on one of the world's busiest trade routes, you've had this continuous expansion of the Cape Town port, and with that has come the development of both road and rail infrastructure to deal with the huge amount of goods pouring into Cape Town and then spreading out northwards to the rest of the country. And it's on these road and rail networks that you have Northlink TVET College located. And this is also the line that tracks the historical industrial development of the Cape, and with it all the huge struggles between the different peoples meeting in this zone. Initially, historically, with the Dutch coming across, the Khoi people living in this area with their huge herds of cattle and forcing them outwards from the Swart River, and then with apartheid, the terrible relocations of mixed groups of people living here, being categorized into whites and blacks and coloreds, and forcing people to live separately. And with that, the setting up of very different quality educational institutions for the different supposed racial groups. And it is this history that Northlink has inherited and is currently breaking down with its excellent practices. Now, our first campus is the Wingfield campus, and that's located on the old historical airport of Cape Town before Cape Town International was built. And that whole zone is currently being looked at for redevelopment. And as you can see, it's got huge possibilities there. It'll be quite exciting for Northlink to look at developing even a bigger campus in this Wingfield area. Now you can do mechanical engineering and electrical engineering over here. You can do mechatronics, engineering and related design. And this is also where the center of specialization for fitting and turning is. And that means that the students coming here will actually learn how to construct industrial level components using lathes, using drilling machines, using milling machines, and then they will actually go to a company and do those skills as a part of their qualification. So at the end of 3 years, they come away fully qualified and fully skilled with work experience. Fantastic. This kind of investment used to be only reserved for white people, and it's quite apt at this point that we go over Reitersvacht, or was then known as Epping Gardens, which was this attempt to generate a poor white space which had the best of facilities possible. You can see the beautiful swimming pool, you can see the fantastic center, you can see the brilliant school over there, all reserved for whites in an attempt to make sure that poor whites were actually uplifted. Now, just over Voortrekker Road and the railway line, you have the Goodwood campus. Now, this used to be an old prep school, and then it was a satellite campus of the Wingfield Tech College, which was one of the 3 old colleges which were brought together to make Northlink. And it's over here you can do early childhood development and educare. For those students who would love to open up their own creche or work with young children and babies. So now I want to keep going northwards, tracking the Voortrekker Road and the railway line and the N1, and also Elsie's Kraal River, which you can see over there. A place where our Khoi people used to have huge herds of cattle. And we're going to Parow, so named now because of a Prussian sea captain who bought the land in 1886 because he recognized the value of cattle trading in the area, effectively overwriting the history of our Khoi people living here for long periods before, especially in the summer months with their huge herds of cattle. Now, the Parow campus is right next to the Parow train station, and it's over here that you can do safety in society, you can do hair care, cosmetology, you can do office administration and primary health care. What I like about it is you'll see it's right next to the Environ's skincare factories and businesses. In fact, that's what makes Northlink such a wonderful TVET college, is because there's all sorts of businesses and industries right in the zone where they're actually teaching and learning, making the work integrated learning practices and the ability to find work in this area a lot easier than some of the other TVET colleges in the country. So now let's keep on tracking the railway line north from Parow into Bellville, and we're going to the Protea campus, which is also the central office. So that gives us a chance to just talk about the college as a whole. Now, it's the biggest college in the Western Cape. And as you can see, all the campuses are quite close to each other. They're within about a 15-kilometer radius. Now, there's about 20,000 students with a huge NATED component. Around about 14,000 students do NATED. They've got about 1,000 employees, lecturers, and they really have got both excellent lecturers and really good students. They're looking at expanding distance education, and they're an absolute leader when it comes to online learning. We've spoken to some of the people there, and they are really innovative with the way that they're working with bringing online education to its students, especially in COVID times. They've got extensive partnerships with all sorts of industries and companies in the area, which really helps with work integrated learning. They've got huge infrastructure and equipment investments. They've got 3 centers of specialization which are working with all this stuff. They've got business units, Encore, which is a restaurant, and they've got a conference center over there. They've got an academy of hair and aesthetics where you can really go and get your hair done. They've got simulated enterprises where they set up mock companies that mirror a real company, like an ice cream retailer or a soft drink retailer. And right over here at the Protea campus, you can do all sorts of NCV courses and clothing production. So you can do business studies and tourism and marketing and hospitality, finance, economics and accounting, a lot of those NCV subjects. So now I want to pull out properly so we can actually see Bellville. We're going to go to the old Bellville Technical College. And this whole area is industrial. There's paper companies, food companies, bricks, tiles, fertilizers, automobiles. You've got these huge medical centers on the one side. You've got the main railway to Joburg. So you've got the largest rail marshalling yard in all of the Cape. And we're going to the Bellville campus, which works with motor and fabrication trades. So over there you can do autotronics, you can be a boiler maker, you can do spray painting and welding, you can do automotive repair, you can actually do AutoCAD as well. And this is the center where they've got the boiler maker center of specialization. Now, with the Boilermaker, I don't want you to just imagine that it's someone working with these huge vats which boil things in water or oil. They do that, but it's really, boiler making has got anything to do with using steel and iron with really big projects. So you learn welding, you learn how to work with steel, you learn how steel and iron work with stress, especially when working with large structures which contain things. Now, Bellville is also where the new airport is. And often when internationals or locals from Joburg come along, when they land, what they see is that section below you, Guguletu. And from the highway, they're very surprised to see the townships and the shacks on that one side. But what they don't see is actually on the other side of Cape Town, extending further north, is Delft, where there's been a real attempt post-apartheid to build new houses and new developments for the people living there. Sometimes with terrible consequences when there are huge fights over who should occupy the new houses. And this resulted in this area which you can see coming up in front of us, Blikkiesfontein, which is the attempt to relocate people that had occupied new houses and to temporarily relocate them over here, which effectively now has become a permanent place where people are staying. But what I hope you can also see is the genuine attempt by government, local and national, to try and build new and decent housing for the people living here. Sometimes looking uncomfortably close to the apartheid-style hostels. But these that you can see over here are for families, not for individual men or sometimes women. Now we're traveling to the Belhar campus, and interestingly enough, this used to be a private college and it was bought by Northlink. Now it's over here that you can do civil construction and related trades. So there's things like you can do program logic control, you can do building and civil construction, community house building, you can look at hot water system installations, and you can do courses in plumbing and bricklaying and painting and carpentry. This is also where the electrical center of specialization is. And it's located right next to the impressive campuses of the University of the Western Cape on the one side, and then kind of with a road driving through it on the other side, the campus for the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. I just wanted to go past it just so that you can get a sense of just the status difference between the TVETs on the one side and the huge infrastructural development for the universities of technology and our universities on the other side. So now let's do a radical pullback so we can actually see the full scale of the development from Cape Town Harbour, running on Voortrekker Road and the N1 and the railway line, running all the way through the Cape Flats, with Northlink College doing its wonderful work on that line. And I want to swoop around the Tygervalley Hills and the reserve so you can get a sense of the greener, more white and Afrikaans suburbs in this area. And you can see that Cape Town as a whole still bears a lot of the scars of apartheid and the earlier colonial history. And we'll fly between, on the one side, the Durbanville wine estates and all sorts of other wine estates, and on your right hand side, Montague Gardens and the huge industrial development on the Atlantic seaboard with Milnerton. And that's another whole story we can't tell right now. And we're flying towards the Tygerberg campus. And this is a beautiful campus. This is the one that's got the Encore restaurant with the conference facilities where you can go get good food and have a conference over there. It's got performing arts and sports and business and tourism and hospitality. It's also got an international office which encourages students from all over Africa to come to this TVET college, given that Northlink has got such a good reputation. And it really helps that they've actually got a student residence over here where the international students can stay. And so we can do one final radical pullback to get first sight of how Northlink College with all its campuses works. Interestingly, tracking the same logic of development that Cape Town as a whole went through as it expanded industrially northwards from the harbour. And Northlink College kind of is almost like following the arteries of industrial development, with its campuses located on Voortrekker Road and the railway line and the N1 running northwards, taking advantage of all the industries and businesses located close by to ensure that their students get the best training, not only inside the college, but also in the businesses in and around Cape Town, making it one of the shining lights of how technical and vocational education should be done, but also not standing on their laurels, continuously innovating with new things going on, with open and distance and blended learning, and also with expanding artisan programs and occupational programs and centers of specialization. Just brilliant.